Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's video is on Module 3, Lesson 6, and we are continuing to do what we did yesterday. So we are continuing converting U.S. customary measurements. Okay, so you don't have your measurement sheet in front of you that gave you all of your conversions, so I'm going to help you along the way. But remember, our goal is to memorize all the U.S. customary measurements. Okay, so our first problem says, a restaurant has 56 ounces of tomatoes. How many pounds of tomatoes does the restaurant have? So they want me to change 56 ounces to pounds. That's what we're doing. So we want to set our table up in the order of what we're changing. So my table is going to go from ounces, where the abbreviation is OZ, to pounds, where it's LBS. So we always make sure we go in the same order. Okay, so what do we know about ounces and pounds? Well, we know that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So again, I have to go in the same order. So I have to ask myself, how did I get from 16 to 1? Well, I could not have multiplied by a whole number. So I needed to multiply by a fraction. And what I multiplied by was 1/16. And the reason is over here, if I see what is 16 times 1/16? Well, 16 over 1 times 1/16 would equal 16/16, which equals 1 whole. So what we multiplied by was 1/16. So this is going to be kind of our pattern we're going to use. So I want to figure out what 56 ounces is in pounds. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to multiply by 1/16. So let's come over here and see what is 56 times 1/16. Well, remember, our rule is we can only multiply a fraction times a fraction. So we need to change 56 to 56 over 1 times 1/16. So what do we have? Well, when we multiply straight across, we get 56 times 1 is 56, and 1 times 16 is 16. Okay, this is what we call an improper fraction or a greater than 1 fraction. So we need to take time to fix it. I'm going to use my little in and out strategy. So 16 is my divisor outside. 56 is my dividend inside. And what do we get? Well, if I have 5, I can make 0 groups of 16. And 0 groups of 16 is 5. Okay, if I have 56, how many groups of 16 can I make? Well, I might need to do some side work. I know that 16 times 2 is 32. I know that 16 times 3 is 48. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to get more than that. So I'm going to make 3 groups of 16, which is 48. And then when we subtract, I get just a remainder of 8. And remember that remainder becomes our numerator and our denominator does not change. So 56 ounces is equal to 3 8/16 pounds. So again, we're going to use these tables instead of these tape diagrams. Okay, let's look at our next one. It says, a family planning a vacation wants to rent a cabin for 35 days. The cabin can only be rented by the week. For how many weeks must the family rent the cabin? Okay, so we want to change 35 days to weeks. Okay, so we're going to make our table in the same order. And we're going from days to weeks. Okay, so what do we know? Well, we know that 7 days equals 1 week. So how did I go from 7 to 1? I would have had to multiply by 1/7. And I can check that and see that 7 times 1/7 is the same as 7 over 1 times 1/7, which is 7/7 and 1. So it is 1/7. So how many weeks is 35 days? Well, we're going to multiply 35 days by 1/7. So let's set up our equation. And we need to have a fraction times a fraction. So 35 over 1 times 1 over 7. So when we multiply straight across, we get 35/7. And this is greater than 1 or an improper fraction. It's the same thing. So let's set this up to correct it. So we have 3 can make 0 groups of 7, and 0 groups of 7 is 3. 35 can make 5 groups of 7, and 5 groups is 35. So it is exactly 5. It is exactly 5. Okay, so tonight's homework, let's look at it. They give you some kind of pages to help you, but they're using the tape diagrams. For tonight's homework, you're going to be doing liquid volume measurements for 1, 2, and 3. So remember, for those, we want to use the gallon man to help us. So the gallon man is the gallon man or the gallon king has 4 queens, which are my quarts, each with 2 princesses, which are my pints, each with 2 cats. So if you memorize how to draw your gallon king or gallon man picture, that will help you make your conversions. So for quarts to gallons, what do I know? I'm going to set up my table, and it's going to be a little squished here, so you might want to get separate paper. But what do I know about quarts to gallons? Well, in 1 gallon, there are 4 quarts. And that is the same for all 3 problems. So I can use that to help me with all the problems, okay? Okay, down here, it is still quarts to gallons. For 5, 6, and 7, you're going to need to know feet and inches, which I think you already know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great evening. Bye-bye.